Excellence is not a destination, not a reward for those who have stayed on the right path for too long, and not a milestone for you to boast about to others. Excellence is something that is being decided right now. The moment you read these words and choose to keep scrolling as usual, or stop to face the truth, that you are living beneath your true potential. Don't look at successful people and think they have something you don't. They are not better than you in talent, opportunity, or luck. They are only better than you in one thing. They choose excellence, not once, but every day. Not because anyone is watching, not because anyone is demanding it, but because they cannot live any other way. The difference doesn't start with results. It starts with how you react when no one is watching you. When the alarm rings and you have no clear reason to get out of bed, what do you do? When the deadline isn't close and you know you can do it later, what do you do? When no one knows you're scrolling through your phone instead of focusing on your work, what do you do? The answer to those questions is the answer to a bigger question: who are you? You are not the things you say when you're motivated. You are the series of invisible actions you repeat when no one is watching. And those choices, not flashy, not noticed, not recognized, are what create or destroy the excellent version of yourself. Many people think they have to do something big, creative, or extraordinary to matter. But the truth is simpler and harder. Excellence doesn't demand you to be great right away. It only demands that you don't trade the right thing for temporary emotions. It starts with not hitting snooze for 10 more minutes, with choosing to start working instead of saying later, with putting the phone down when your mind wants to escape. No one claps, no one sees, but every time you do that, you send a clear message to yourself: I don't live by emotions, I live by standards. Do you want others to believe in you? First, let yourself believe in you. Believe that you'll do what you know needs to be done, even when no one reminds you, praises you, or pushes you. That is the true foundation of self-confidence. It doesn't come from what you have. It comes from being able to control yourself. No one teaches you this in school, no one trains you for it in life, but you'll realize something if you observe closely. The people around you, even the most successful ones, are not better than you in talent. They just don't back down when things get uncomfortable, when they're tired, when it feels inconvenient. And that repeats quietly, consistently, becoming a leverage that no one can stop. If you keep seeing excellence as a result to be achieved at the end, you'll always postpone it for some future day that never comes. But if you start seeing it as a present choice, as an answer that must be made hour by hour, minute by minute, then you truly control the game. Excellence is not a reward. It is the standard you refuse to trade. It is something you do not negotiate, do not cut back, do not postpone, and you only need to hold it for one day. Then repeat that day once again and again. You don't need anyone's permission to start. You just need to look straight into yourself. No excuses, no compromise. And choose today, choose this moment, to live like someone who deserves their true potential. There will be no better morning, no better circumstances, no better opportunities. There is only you right now and the choice you are making. That's when excellence begins. No one sees it, but you will feel it, and your life will never be the same. There's no opening ceremony for success. There's no spotlight. There's no official invitation to begin living up to your potential. Successful people don't need the right time to act. They don't wait for the start of the week, the start of the month, or for motivation to strike. They act because they've decided that every day is an opportunity, and if they miss one day, they are the ones who will bear the consequences. How about you? How many times have you set conditions to start? How many times have you postponed because you didn't feel ready, good enough, or didn't have enough time? The difference doesn't lie in the starting point. It lies in the definition each person gives to the word enough. Successful people don't define enough by feelings. They define it by action. They don't need to feel ready to begin. They begin. And through action, they become ready. I've met many people who are more talented than average, who have knowledge, mindset, and even good resources, but they remain stuck because they keep waiting for the right moment, waiting for others to acknowledge them, waiting for a clear sign that they're good enough to start something bigger. Meanwhile, those who truly break through don't wait for any signs. They don't ask if today is the right time. They only ask, if I don't start now, when will I? And it's this question that pushes them out of their comfort zone into a state of action where true potential is tapped, not because of favorable circumstances, but because they don't allow themselves to step back anymore. Timing. I don't know what you're chasing, but I do know one thing. You won't achieve it if you keep waiting for a perfect day. Successful people abandoned the idea of waiting for the perfect time a long time ago. They know there's no wind blowing in the right direction unless you steer your own ship. They create momentum. They adjust their strategies proactively. They are flexible but never procrastinate. They accept small failures to maintain the pace of action. What about you? Every time you stop to think some more, every time you say later, you're pulling yourself out of orbit. No one sees it immediately, but you will feel the consequences when you look back and realize you're standing still among all the plans that have never been executed. I once had to sleep under my desk, once ate cheap junk food, and once heard many people say I was crazy. But I didn't wait for someone to tell me I was on the right path. I didn't wait for an easier time. I just did what needed to be done, day after day, until no one could ignore the results anymore. Do you think you need motivation to start? No. You need a decision. You need a blunt moment with yourself where you look at the reality and say, I don't need any more signals. I've seen enough. I'm starting from here. Let me be clear. If you're looking for a miracle, the miracle is your action. If you're looking for a sign, the fact that you're reading this is the sign. If you're waiting for someone to tell you that you're good enough, stop waiting. No one holds that permission but you. And once you understand this, you'll never need anyone else to start again. You'll create momentum, create opportunities, and turn every day into the right moment, simply by taking action instead of standing still and calculating. Successful people don't need special circumstances. They need a reason big enough not to turn back. And that reason is always internal. It doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from a question you can't avoid. How much longer will I hold back when I know I need to move forward right now? If you can face this question honestly, you don't need to wait for anything anymore. Everything you need to begin is already here. And it all depends on just one thing: your choice. Your true identity is not built on social media profiles, not in the way others introduce you, and certainly not based on what you do when there's an audience watching. All of those things are superficial. They can be edited, polished, and fabricated easily. But the part that cannot be faked is what you choose to do when no one is watching. When there's no applause, no evaluation, no deadline pushing you, no camera recording, it is in that moment that the truth is revealed. Who are you when no one is paying attention? Most people try to be better when they are being observed. They focus more in meetings, work harder when the boss is looking, and act kinder when a third person is present. But this is not real kindness, not real discipline, and certainly not real excellence. Excellence does not exist on stage. It is forged in the backstage, where you have nothing to prove and no one is demanding that you prove anything. That's when you face a test with no grading, whether you live up to the values you speak of or if you simply use those values as a slogan to comfort yourself. I have met many people who talk about principles, standards, and dreams, but when everything quiets down, when the spotlight fades, when no one is watching, their behavior immediately drops to the lowest level they can accept. They cut back on effort. They postpone decisions. They make excuses for every misstep. No one knows, so it doesn't matter, they think. But the truth forgives no one. Every action you take unconsciously is rewiring you. You cannot choose to live carelessly in the dark and hope to shine in the light. No one becomes excellent suddenly. It is always the result of thousands of correct decisions you persist in making when there is no reward at all. When I used to sleep on the office floor, no one knew. No one filmed it, no one talked about it, but every night like that, every time like that, I was confirming to myself that I would not live like an ordinary person, not because I thought I was better, but because I couldn't live in a way that contradicted what I knew was right. No one cheered me on, no applause, but I still did it, because I understood one thing: if I didn't maintain discipline when no one was watching, I wouldn't have the foundation to stand strong when the opportunity came. The question you need to ask is not what do I do when someone is supervising, but what do I do when no one is supervising? Because it is in those moments that the truth about you is revealed more than ever. When you know you could be lazy and still choose discipline. When you know you could lie and still choose honesty. When you know you could slack off and still choose to maintain your standards. That's when you become the most reliable version of yourself. And no one can give you that feeling except yourself. You can deceive others for a while. You can pretend to be excellent when you need to make an impression. But you cannot escape the things you do in silence. The way you spend 15 minutes of free time. The way you react to temptation. The way you treat yourself behind closed doors. That is the true sign to identify who you are. It's not the role you play during the day. It's the choices you make at night. If you want to upgrade your life, don't start with goals. Start with how you live when no one is watching, because that will radiate everywhere. It shapes your character, it builds your resilience, and it protects you from internal erosion, the thing that causes most people to live their entire lives without truly knowing who they are. The next time when no one is watching, when you think, it's okay, no one knows, remember, you know. And if you allow yourself to betray that standard once, you're opening the door to betray it many more times. On the other hand, if you stick to your commitment, even when no one cares, you will become someone you respect. And there is no greater foundation for success than that. They think they lack motivation, they think they need another course, another teacher, or a better plan. But the truth is, it's not that they're missing something, it's that they completely misunderstand the nature of progress. They think that the right actions should only happen when they feel ready, when their mindset is positive, when inspiration flows. And this misconception traps them in a never-ending loop, waiting for better emotions to start, then feeling disappointed when the emotions don't come, then procrastinating, then waiting again, then getting stuck again. You see this everywhere. People with good intentions, clear goals, but year after year they are still in the same place, because they keep waiting for the right emotional state to act, instead of developing the ability to act despite emotion. If you need to feel excited to work, then you're not in control of your life. You're a slave to your emotions. And as you know, emotions are the most fickle thing in life. One day you feel excited, the next day you're tired. One moment you're full of energy, a few minutes later you're doubting yourself. If you keep adjusting your behavior based on every little shift in your mood, you will never make progress. Most people don't progress not because they lack potential, but because they still think they should only start when they feel good. The truth is the opposite. The most solid progress is often made on the worst days, when all you have is discipline and commitment. I've seen many people who are better than me, quicker, more creative, better resources, but they don't go far because they rely on inspiration. Meanwhile, ordinary people who know how to act unconditionally move forward little by little every day, and in the end they leave everyone behind. They don't need a perfect morning. They don't need a motivational song. They don't need someone cheering them on. They only need one reason. They've decided. They've decided to keep their promise to themselves, regardless of anything. Do you think you're stuck because you lack time? No. You're stuck because you keep waiting for the right moment. Do you think you're not good enough to start? No. You're just using a lack of confidence to justify procrastination. What's scary is that you repeat those choices every day, and you don't realize it until a year passes and you're still in the same place with the same promises, and the excuses are still as fresh as yesterday. That's the most subtle trap. You think you're waiting for the right time, but in reality, you're just avoiding facing a harsh truth, that you've gotten used to not taking action, and your brain is doing everything it can to keep you in that state. To break free from this trap, you don't need a breakthrough strategy. You need a shift in mindset. You need to let go of the idea that emotions are your compass. Replace it with a principle. I act because it's what needs to be done, not because of how I feel. This principle is simple, but it's enough to divide the world into two groups of people. Those who still wait for inspiration to live, and those who live by principle, regardless of inspiration. The second group will eventually surpass the first. If you feel stuck, I'm not telling you to force yourself. I'm not telling you to be strong immediately. I'm just telling you to look back at each small choice throughout the day. When you're about to scroll on your phone for a few more minutes, you stop. When you're about to procrastinate a task, you start doing it for 5 minutes. When you're about to say, tomorrow, you say right now instead. Don't think you have to change your whole life in one night. Just change your reactions in those unconscious moments, the moments where you usually get stuck the most. And if you do this often enough, you won't be stuck anymore. You've broken the chain. You don't need more knowledge. You don't need more motivational videos. You just need to remember one thing. Action without relying on emotions is the most powerful leverage to change your life. And the fewer people who can do this, the easier it is for you to stand out if you dare to start. Don't wait. Don't compromise. Don't make excuses. Just start from the place you've been sitting still for too long. No one denies that intelligence is an advantage. But if you think success belongs to the smartest person in the room, you are completely misjudging this game. In the real world, the winner is not always the one with the highest IQ, the most prestigious qualifications, or the boldest ideas. The winner is the one who knows how to repeat the right behavior, even when it's boring, unattractive, and there's no applause. The winner is the one who maintains discipline when everyone else starts finding reasons to quit. I used to believe that I needed to learn more, read more, analyze more thoroughly to break through. But the truth is, the problem wasn't knowledge. The problem was whether I had enough discipline to apply what I knew. How many times have you known exactly what you should do, but didn't do it? How many times have you had a reasonable plan, then quit just because you weren't in the mood? You don't lack information. You just lack the ability to force yourself to take action even when no one is forcing you. That's the real gap between those who only know theory and those who produce results. Discipline isn't glamorous. It doesn't get posted on social media. It doesn't create strong emotions. But it has a quiet power that you can't replace with any talent. Because discipline is the only thing that can turn an ordinary person into an extraordinary one. Not overnight, but in every small action repeated daily. Discipline is the foundation you build in silence, so that one day others will call you a genius, without knowing that there's no magic involved. Only thousands of hours of consistent work no one saw. You don't need to wait until you're smarter, more knowledgeable, or more perfect. You just need to become more committed to the actions you already know are right. Every time you procrastinate, it's not because you lack intelligence, it's because you've allowed temporary emotions to break your standards. And if you continue letting emotions dictate your actions, you'll always be stuck in the same loop, knowing but not doing, doing but quitting, and then starting again from scratch. That's why many talented people still remain in frustration. They have enough ability to go far, but they don't have enough discipline to maintain stability, and so all their talent is lost to emotion. I'm not writing this to judge you. I'm writing to help you realize that you hold a power no one can take away. The ability to choose the right behavior despite emotions. That's the only thing you really control. You can't control your circumstances, you can't control the weather, what others think, or how quickly results come. But you can always control the behavior you choose right now. And that, if repeated with discipline, will take you farther than any smart strategy. Discipline is not about being strict, it's about liberation. The undisciplined person is not free. They're controlled by their emotions, imprisoned by procrastination, weighed down by failure, and don't understand why. On the other hand, the disciplined person is someone who can make decisions decisively, take timely action, and work without needing praise. They are not swayed by feelings, they live by standards. And because of that, they move farther, not because they are more gifted, but because of their choices. If you want to change your life, don't ask, how can I become smarter? Ask, how can I stay committed even when I don't want to do anything today? That is the question few dare to answer. But if you have the courage to live by it, you will step out of the ordinary, no noise, no show-off, yet still no one will be able to catch up with you. Because in this world, the disciplined person is irreplaceable. Not because they're better, but because they don't need motivation to start, and they don't need a reason to continue. They do what's right every day, no negotiation, and that's why they win. You are still looking for a big turning point, a dramatic transformation, a chance to completely change your life with a single breakthrough. That's why you keep looking for great strategies, long-term plans, and optimal tools. You think life changes through extraordinary moments, big decisions, but no, life doesn't change in a glorious afternoon. It changes in the small choices you repeat every day, the things so trivial that you don't pay attention to them. And because you don't pay attention, you lose your true power. How many times have you said just today and repeated that phrase throughout the entire year? How many times have you planned to wake up early but hit the snooze button instead? How many times have you planned to read, exercise, work with focus, but then quit because it doesn't matter, I'll do it tomorrow? Each of those actions seems small, but they are not isolated. They form a system, and that system is your life. You don't live by goals, you live by habits. And habits are not shaped in moments of glory. They are programmed through every small reaction you repeat daily in silence. Successful people don't create miraculous results from one super productive day. They simply do the right things the right way enough times. No noise, no fanfare. They understand a principle that most people overlook. Great results come from small, purposefully accumulated actions. There is no such thing as unimportant tasks. No action is just a one-time thing. Every action, no matter how small, is either reinforcing or breaking the person you are becoming. If you still believe that all you need is one big opportunity to break through, you're fooling yourself. Because an opportunity is only valuable if you have the ability to seize it. And ability doesn't come from dreaming. It comes from every morning when you don't want to get up, but still get up. Every time you want to procrastinate, but still take action. Every moment you want to quit, but choose to keep going. Those choices are not outstanding. No one praises you, no one sees. But you see, and you feel. You feel that you are building something stronger than results. You are building yourself. The question you need to ask is not, how can I change quickly? But, what am I doing every day that is silently reprogramming my life? If you continue to choose the easy way, choose procrastination, choose temporary comfort, then you don't need anyone to harm you. You are slowly destroying your potential, bit by bit. On the other hand, if you start choosing the right behaviors, no matter how small, how dull, how boring, you are triggering an irreversible chain reaction. You begin to believe in yourself. Every right action reinforces a new identity, and that identity starts demanding you to keep higher standards. Then you change, not through force, but through the new person you are becoming. So don't underestimate the small actions. Don't think that indulging yourself just once is harmless. Don't tell yourself that what you do today doesn't matter much. Everything you do is a vote for the person you want to become. And if you vote enough times for stagnation, don't be surprised when your life is full of dead ends. But if you regularly vote for the right behaviors, the ones you know you should do even if no one forces you, then you don't need to change your life all at once. You're doing it hour by hour. Small behaviors are the biggest seeds. They don't look glamorous, they don't give you the feeling of breaking through, but if you're disciplined enough to plant them, disciplined enough to nurture them, you will be surprised when you look back in a few months and realize you've come farther than those who started with grand plans but gave up halfway. You don't need to wait for life to change. Look at what you're doing every morning and ask directly, is this moving me forward or pulling me back? Answer honestly, because your future is not in big intentions. It's in the small actions you repeat today, and if you dare to adjust even just a little, you've already changed the entire trajectory of your life. No declarations needed, just start, quietly, persistently, and continuously. You think that one day, when you achieve something big enough, significant enough, impressive enough, the world will look at you differently. You'll receive admiring glances, official praise, and honorary applause. You think you need that recognition to believe you are good enough. But if you keep living to wait for others to confirm your worth, let me be honest with you, you will wait your entire life. Because external recognition will never be the condition that makes you believe you are deserving. True belief starts from within. When you look yourself in the eye and say, I know I am on the right path, even when no one else sees it. You don't need thousands of followers to be called influential. You don't need a title or a degree to feel valuable. You only need one thing, to behave consistently with the standards you set for yourself. No one else needs to recognize that, but you must. Because if you doubt yourself, no one else can help you move forward. And if you only act when praised, when you're noticed, when someone recognizes you, then you're handing all the power to the outside world to define who you are. The truth is, people will only recognize you once you no longer need that recognition. They will only believe in you when you've proven it through the results you create. And results don't come from trying to impress, they come from maintaining your standards when no one is watching. Do you want others to believe in you? First, you must live as someone worthy of that belief, even when no one is observing. And that's not to prove anything, it's to build a kind of self-respect that no one can give or take away. I've walked alone during times when no one understood, no one supported, no one believed. When you're walking a path no one has walked before, don't expect anyone to clap. They don't see the future you're imagining. They don't feel the pain you're enduring. They don't understand why you keep going. But you must understand. And you must believe in yourself first. Not out of arrogance, but because that's the only way you won't give up midway. All recognition from the outside is a result. But you need the strength to keep walking before the result appears. There is a special strength when you dare to stand for yourself. When you don't need anyone's support to continue. When you don't need to be praised to do good work. When you don't need recognition to maintain your standards. That's what creates people who can't be shaken. Because they don't live for praise. They're not knocked down by silence. They don't live to impress, so they don't crumble when ignored. They live by their own standards, and only one person needs to recognize that, themselves. You may be skilled, you may be talented, you may do incredible things, but if you don't first recognize your own worth, you'll keep doubting, procrastinating, and shrinking yourself. You'll judge your worth based on others' reactions, and in doing so, you'll live like a leaf floating downstream, forever influenced by the outside. On the contrary, when you establish your intrinsic value, you become the anchor that keeps you. Any recognition that comes, if it comes, is just an extra reward. And if it doesn't come, you continue your journey because you haven't built your self-worth on applause. You don't need anyone's permission to start. You don't need to be chosen. You can choose yourself. Starting today, choose to keep your promises to yourself. Choose to act kindly when no one demands it. Choose to pursue what's right when no one encourages you. Choose to maintain high standards even if you are the only one doing so. Because in the end, the recognition you seek is not from the outside. It's the recognition you give yourself when you look in the mirror every morning. And if you can look into it and say, I'm living rightly, then you've already succeeded before the world notices. There is no morning when you wake up and suddenly become the best version of yourself. There is no miraculous moment that turns you from an ordinary person into an extraordinary one with just one decision. Inspirational movies often give that impression, as if everything can change in a single moment of realization. But life is different. Realization is just the beginning. What shapes you is not a big decision, but the hundreds of small decisions you repeat every day, in silence, in boredom, in those moments when no one is watching. Giving up mediocrity is not a memorable event. It is a series of choices you make when no one demands, no one rewards, and no one cares. You want to break through. Don't look for grand inspiration. Go back to the very small, very familiar situations that are decisive. When you could take the easy way out, you choose to maintain your standards. When you could procrastinate, you choose to act. When you could quit, you choose to take one more step. These things are not outstanding. No one cheers you for waking up on time, eating healthily, or sticking to your plan. You know that each time you do that, you are pushing yourself away from the old mediocre version of yourself. And if you do this long enough, you don't need to make any declarations. Everything will speak for itself through the way you appear, how you respond, how you live. Most people stay stuck in mediocrity not because they don't know how to break free, but because they wait for a big enough moment to change. They wait for a push, an event, a clear sign. But the truth is, that moment will never come. No one will knock on your door and say, today is the day you break free from mediocrity. If you keep waiting, you'll repeat yourself forever. Only when you understand that every small action, every invisible choice is a vote for the person you want to become, will you begin to move forward. No need to wait for emotions, no need to wait for motivation. All you need to do is start keeping promises to yourself. Repeat it every day. Do you think failure kills dreams? No. What kills dreams is compromise. It's when you know what you should do, but choose the easy way out because it won't hurt. It's when you repeat old habits because they are familiar, because they are safe, because they don't make you feel too bad. But that not too bad is what pulls you down, because it's not painful enough for you to change, but not good enough for you to progress. It keeps you stuck in the middle, the most dangerous place, not failing, but never really living up to your potential. Mediocrity doesn't strike all at once. It sneaks in, bit by bit, silently, smoothly. It convinces you that skipping one day is fine, that postponing your plan for one day makes sense, that doing it next week is fine. And then you look back, a month has passed, and you're still in the same place. Not because you lack the ability, but because you haven't been mindful enough to refuse the repeated ease. The only way to break free from that trap is not to try hard just once. It's to build a system of behaviors you don't negotiate with. Waking up on time in the morning, focusing on your work according to the plan, completing tasks even when you're not motivated, not making excuses when you're tired. These behaviors are the wall that blocks mediocrity, not with emotions, but with discipline. Do you want others to look at you differently? Don't try to change their view of you. Change the standards you live by. When you choose not to compromise, when you behave right every day, when you maintain principles even in your weak moments, you don't need anyone's recognition. You will separate yourself from the crowd simply because you no longer play the same game. This is not luck. It is the direct result of a series of behaviors you've chosen, repeated tirelessly. Mediocrity is something no one wants, but most people tolerate because it's easy, because it's fast, because it doesn't require long-term effort. But if you're awake enough, you'll see the cost of living easily is not failure in a clear sense, but a life that never reaches the best version of itself. And you'll carry that question with you throughout your life. Who could I have become if I hadn't lived so easily for so long? The answer is right here, in the decision you're about to make after reading this. Continue as usual, or choose again, even with one small action. If you have the courage to choose what's right, then repeat it tomorrow and the day after that. You don't need to try to escape mediocrity. You've already left it from this moment, in silence but with firm determination. Most people ask the wrong question. They look at a big goal, an ambitious dream, and then ask themselves, am I good enough? Do I have the ability? Can I do this? And they keep spinning in doubt. But the real issue is not the ability. The issue lies in the standard. You don't need a perfect skill set to change your life. You only need a clear standard and the courage to maintain it every day, regardless of emotions. That is the right question. Am I willing to maintain this standard when no one is forcing me, when no one sees me doing it, when there is no immediate reward? Anyone can do well on a day full of inspiration. Anyone can wake up early after an inspiring evening. Anyone can write a plan, set goals, and say determined words. But those things don't define you. What defines you is what you continue to repeat when motivation has faded. It's how you respond to boredom, to temptation, to ease when no one is punishing you. That's where your standard shows up. And it is that standard, not fleeting inspiration, that will decide how far you go. I once asked myself, do I have the ability to do this? But the further I went, the more I realized ability is just the starting point. A person with ability who doesn't maintain their standard will quickly be defeated. But the person who starts with a lower starting point but keeps the same standard every day will gradually close the gap and move ahead. Not because they are more intelligent, but because they chose not to lower their standard just because they were tired, lazy, or because no one was watching. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what is the standard I'm committed to? And am I willing to maintain it even when I don't feel like it? That's the harder question, and that's why very few people truly succeed. Because to answer yes to that question, you must be ready to take full responsibility for yourself. No blaming the weather, the busy schedule, the pressure. There's only one thing you look at, the standard you've chosen and whether you're keeping it. People who live at a high level don't behave differently in big situations. They just don't allow themselves to turn off their personal standards in small situations, where others slack off without immediate consequences. When you change the question from, can I do this, to, am I willing to repeat this right thing every day, you shift from self-doubt to self-control. You stop waiting for external validation and start building trust from within. It's no longer about talent or opportunity, but about unwavering consistency with yourself. And once you commit to that standard, the result is just a matter of time. There will be days when you are tired, discouraged, and want to give up. But what matters is not how you feel, it's what you do despite that. Successful people don't act based on emotions, they act based on commitment. They don't allow discomfort to break their principles because they understand one compromise today will lead to hundreds of easy choices tomorrow, and gradually the standard will drop. The results will diminish. You'll be dragged backward, not because of a lack of ability, but because of a lack of loyalty to the standard you chose. Look at the people you admire. What makes them different? It's not that they were great from the beginning, it's that they maintained their standard every day even when no one asked. And you, if you're still stuck in the question, can I do this? Change that question immediately. Because when you maintain your standard, you will learn anything necessary. You will adapt, adjust, and grow. But if you don't maintain your standard, no matter how much ability you have, you'll end up sabotaging yourself before achieving anything significant. The game doesn't belong to the most talented person, it belongs to the one who maintains their standard the longest. The person who doesn't need inspiration to do the right thing, the person who doesn't negotiate with themselves every morning, the person who doesn't lower their standard even just once, because they know the cost of easy choices today is regret that will last forever. You don't need to answer, can I do it anymore? Just answer, do I have the courage to maintain this every day? Even when no one praises me, no one watches me, no one reminds me. If the answer is yes, nothing can stop you. Not because you are special, but because you chose to live differently, and you remain committed to that, day after day. You may achieve a major milestone, you may impress others, make the front page, or become a topic of conversation, but those things do not define you as excellent. They are merely consequences. What truly defines you is how you live each day when there is nothing to celebrate, no one paying attention, and no immediate reward. Excellence is not something you attain, it is something you become. It doesn't come from the spotlight, but from the darkness backstage, where you make the smallest choices, repeat the right behaviors, and maintain your standards even when no one is watching. That is where your identity is formed. You cannot act excellently, you cannot pretend to have high standards, because sooner or later, life will force you to reveal your true self when there's no place to hide. And at that moment, what you've lived every day, how you think, act, face difficulties will automatically operate without you trying. Excellence is not a coat of paint you quickly put on before an important meeting. It is the steel inside you, forged over time, not through glory, but through discipline. Not through fleeting inspiration, but through long-term principles. When you see excellence as a destination, you will always fall into the waiting for the right conditions mindset. You will wait until you have enough knowledge, enough ability, enough support to act. But if you see it as an identity, you will start acting immediately without needing to feel ready, without needing anyone to recognize you. You don't become excellent after achieving something. You become excellent the moment you live like someone who is. From how you wake up, work, communicate, and respond to disappointment. No action is too small. Everything you do sends a signal to your brain, this is the person I'm becoming. You can achieve a goal without changing yourself. You can force yourself to work hard for a period to get results, then return to your old lifestyle afterward. That is not excellence, that's conditional effort. True excellence is when you choose to do what's right, even when no one is pushing you. It's when you stop living based on results and start living by standards. It's when you no longer chase recognition, but only care about one thing. Does this action reflect who I want to become? Identity is not something you write in your personal profile. It is something you repeat enough times until it becomes your default. And excellence, when it becomes your identity, will change the way you exist. You will no longer have to motivate yourself to work. You won't need to fight negative emotions every morning. You will simply be someone who acts by their standards because you no longer accept any version of yourself that's lower than that. You won't need anyone to remind you, you are the reminder. And that is true power, when you become the operating system of your own life. Stop thinking of excellence as something you need to reach. Start thinking, I am building a person I respect. And from there, you will see that every small action matters. You won't be lenient with the little things anymore. No longer will waking up late be a regular occurrence. No longer will boredom justify giving up. No longer will laziness replace willpower. Because every one of those actions not only affects the results, but also shapes your identity. And the new identity, if built correctly, will lead to new results. At that point, you won't need to chase success. You will live as someone whom success cannot stay away from. In the end, what you're truly looking for is not an achievement to boast about. It's a version of yourself that you can look at every morning and say, I trust you, I respect you, I'm proud of you for not compromising. That identity cannot be borrowed, it cannot be bought, it cannot be faked. It only comes from one place, discipline. And if you have the perseverance to live according to what you know is right every day, without needing praise, without any noise, then you are excellent. Not because you're recognized, but because you've chosen to become someone who doesn't need recognition to still live rightly day after day.